Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning and welcome to a Tuesday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to carry us. Tuesday, you know what that means. That means good old Buddy Martin from the Buddy Martin Show will join us here in just a second via the Titan MR hotline. Second part of the show today, we're going to be joined by College Sports Today host Terry Norvelle. We're going to break down a little college baseball, maybe talk a little college football as well. But all the super regionals are set. Some exciting games yesterday if you missed it. Also in softball, we have our national championship series set. The Oklahoma Sooners come out of the loser bracket. They defeat James Madison, and then surprisingly, Florida State beats Alabama twice to get to the national championship series, and that cranks up tonight. In the NBA, the Phoenix Suns won the first game of their series, and the Nets destroyed the Milwaukee Bucks. Getting a lot of text here. It's coming from our man, Buddy Martin. He's trying to figure out how to do this via the Titan MR text line. But in the meantime, we're going to go to the Titan MR text line or hotline. Are we joined by Buddy here, Mr. Evan? Nope, not yet. Buddy's having issues. So in the meantime, if you got any texts or questions for Buddy or myself, you can shoot them to us on the Titan MR text line, or you can hit us up on Facebook Live. Lauren Meadows says, good morning, Shane and Buddy. Good morning to you. Go Gators, says Dan. Good morning, Gator Nation, says Cliff. All Buddy has to do on his phone is hit *6, I believe, and we should be able to hear him. But we will. Dan asked, good question. It's on the Facebook Live brought to you by Mellon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. How did Bama not pitch Montana Fouts in that second game? You know, I think they're going to be questioning that decision, Dan. She is one of the most dominant pitchers I've seen in all the years I've been watching softball. I think they took it for granted. Now, granted, the other girl pitched pretty well. They just didn't get any hits. But last night, they start her after her perfect game, and they pull her in the second inning, and you don't see Montana Fouts again. So pretty bizarre. John says here on Facebook Live, when Arkansas pinch hit and that guy hit a home run, that place went nuts. It reminded me of the Swamp. I'm telling you, I know a lot of our people only watch the Gators, but if you watch regional games in Arkansas, Oxford, Mississippi, Knoxville, Tennessee, in Starkville, Mississippi, the atmosphere is crazy. So we're all set with the super regions. We'll talk to Terry about that a little bit later, but I think we have our man, good old Buddy Martin from the Buddy Martin Show on the Titan MR hotline. Good morning, Buddy. How are you?
Good morning, Shane. I'm talking a little bit low this morning because I'm in the medical center with my wife doing her infusion, and I've been punching *6. Now, I've punched it to a point where I think I might be the world champion. I punched it so many times, but thanks to Evan, we found another way in, and good morning to you and all the people out there. I apologize for this, the way we're communicating today. We got this thing on Tuesday mornings now that we have to do, and we'll get better at it. But meanwhile, enjoyed having you on the show last night, and there was a good discussion about the pain of defeat and about what it's like, and we had a little bit of a disagreement. I think we'll agree when it's all said and done, because I know it's about the individual pain of the person involved. And I'm going to write about this week in my Gator Bait column. I think it's important to know in life, has been around as long as I have, you know, you're going to have these times when it really hurts. Things happen that hurt, and it's just total bleakness sometimes. You think, how in the world did this happen? This reversal of fortune. It was something I didn't expect. Not only did I lose or fail, I was humiliated. I humiliated myself. I have no one to blame but myself. And you go through those moments where you think, what am I doing? What am I doing wrong? What's true? And this is not just us. This is the beginning of man. This is where, if you look through the Bible, you'll see constant cases of people failing all the way through, from the prophets, the whatever. So everybody has had this tribulation, this time. It comes in different ways. Sometimes, it's a point of pride when it's something you value the most. And you think, man, I value that the most. That's what it costs you in the long run. And when it costs you what you value most, then you have to do some reevaluation. And sometimes it's a mid-course correction for life. Doesn't mean to get too philosophical about it, but you get the point. We talked about it some last night on my show, especially regarding your situation. And here you were, two-time MVP of the SEC and the great quarterback that you were, and you had that one interception. And you tend to focus more on the things that don't go right than the things that go wrong. Most people would be glad to trade that for what you accomplished in football. But you said last night, you have to move on, but you did have nightmares and that's what it is. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare situation. You have to learn to live with it and move on. And I think that's what you've done in your life, is you've moved on after the failures, just like I have. In fact, there's a story out this week in a local magazine that obviously had nothing else to write about, but a really good piece, Carlton Reese, talking about Buddy Martin, the communicator. And I said in the piece, sometimes my greatest successes came after my greatest failures. So that does happen, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I don't think we were disagreeing. I just thought the different moment was a little bit different compared to the baseball team. There's not one athlete or one person in the world that hasn't had failures and come back from them. And, it's a great example of last night, buddy. Alabama, all they had to do is win one game to go play for the national championship. Patrick Murphy decided in the first game on Sunday against FSU to not pitch his All-American, who I think is maybe one of the greatest college pitchers I've ever seen, who just came off a perfect game. They lose 2-0 to FSU. So he starts her last night. He pulls her after the second inning, and she doesn't get back into the game, and FSU upsets Alabama, moves on. So, yeah, they're going through that same issue as you're referring to as Kevin O'Sullivan and the baseball team. Not trying to say it's different, but it's a little bit different in my opinion, because they had a chance to play for a national title. Florida was just trying to stay alive in a baseball regional. But I totally agree with you. I mean, the interception I threw against Alabama has haunted me for years because it was a bad decision. But then I always try to sit back and say, we had no business being on the field with that Alabama team because we were not very good that year, and we had them on the ropes. But I totally agree with what you're saying. Florida baseball will be back. I hope. My bigger concern, as I said last night on your show, buddy, was the attendance, the atmosphere for our baseball program. I don't know what has to be done to get it like the other SEC schools.
Well, I get what you're saying. That's apples and oranges. I don't disagree with what you said. But at the moment, we're talking about personal failure. And to one person, it could be something else. Sometimes it could be something that seems small to everybody else, but to that person, they have expectations based on what or your hopes and dreams were. I mean, I could look at you and say, here's a boy from Pascagoula who came out of nowhere to become a great player and got to the ultimate moment. Remember, Florida was still trying to win an SEC championship in a game that you were driving down the field and about to score, and you threw a ball. The truth be known, Shane, and your coach has told me this dozens of times, if the receiver hadn't run the wrong route, the interception would have taken place. But it's still on you because you threw it. And tell me about, and I want to know, I'm not a psychiatrist, but tell me about those nightmares. What do you see? What do you think? What goes through you?
Nightmares is probably the wrong word. I mean, it was just, I was one of these players, and I don't know if being a coach's son, even when we won games and I didn't play as well as I thought, or I missed a couple of throws, it bothered me for days. And that's the worst thing about playing football is you have to wait an entire week to get back out on the field if you didn't play well, or even if you played well and you won, you can play better. That's the great thing about basketball and baseball and other sports. You usually don't have to wait that long to get back out there to compete. But nightmares is probably the wrong word, buddy. It's bothered me for years because, as I said, we were not very good. I'll argue with anybody. And Coach Spurrier's, all his coaching years, and I can't refer back to what he did at Duke, but I believe in 1992, my senior year, was his best coaching job. People forget we started the season at 1-2. and we were not very good. And we played the number one team in America who won the national championship and had them on the ropes in their ballpark. So I think it's his best coaching job he ever did. But it's bothered me because, that was the reason we lost the football game. We had some opportunities earlier in the games earlier in the game that we could have taken advantage of, but that's sports. There's highs and lows throughout the course of games. And that's one thing that I always took from Coach Spurrier. Anytime he talked to his football team before a game, is like, look, good things are going to happen, bad things are going to happen. You just got to keep playing. And that's the truth. No matter what sport or what's going on in your life, you just got to keep plugging along.
Yeah, I think it's so great about baseball. And you're going through things in life. I told my wife today, life is like baseball. It's not like what's the next game. It's the next pitch. It can change in the next pitch. And that's why I love the game of baseball, because you can fail 2 out of 3 times and be a great player at that. And there's those percentages and things. And how do you deal with a 3-game strikeout, three strikeout game? What do you do when you go out in the second inning and get knocked out of the box as a pitcher? It's recuperation, recovery, getting back on the horse again, as they say, which you have to do, which is what stands you in good stead as an athlete. And mostly, sometimes it's really hard to do, and some people can't do it very well. And I think if there's one word I would put on your career as a player playing in the NFL, is the resiliency. Resiliency of maybe not doing all you wanted to do. You could have said, okay, I'm done with football. I'm moving on. But you kept showing up on rosters. Why? Because you were resilient. You had skills. And as Coach Spurrier likes to say, of all of us, she's been available. But anyway, that's just a lesson of life learned through sports. And the other side of that is opportunity. To quote another coach, Urban Meyer talks about this a lot. I'll be starting his podcast in about 3 or 4 weeks. He talks, working on a book called Hope and Opportunity, which we all want. And the news that the USFL, I couldn't believe this, is going to come back, kind of blew me away. Now, I know about the USFL. I covered the USFL. I covered the Denver Gold. I knew Mouse Davis, Craig Martin, the coaches there, Coach Spurrier of the Tampa Bay Bandits. Where would Coach Spurrier be today without the Tampa Bay Bandits, who were a great story? So I don't know what it will be, but I want to get your thoughts on USFL says it's coming back. We don't have a lot of details yet about cities, etc. But I know spring football seems like it's failed and failed and failed. Now the XFL, I guess, is going to try again. But the old USFL, there were some good crowds back in the day, Shane. I covered games where there were really 40,000 people in games in Denver. And Birmingham had a great franchise. Tampa Bay drew pretty well. It was fun. Had they not pushed it to the max with a former president who was an owner in New Jersey who wanted to go to the mat with the NFL, they might have lasted, but they didn't. They went out of business. And I remember being with Coach Spurrier in Alabama at the Pro Bowl when he got the news. He just got the news. He had no job. He was out for a year. He was out of work for a year. One of the great college coaches of all time, one of the great coaches, couldn't get a job. He was out rejected when the USFL folded, couldn't get a job. So finally, Duke took a chance on him. So USFL, maybe something good will come out of that, huh?
Yeah, it's interesting. I know the XFL is coming back. The Rock owns that, I believe, now. I loved the USFL when I was growing up, buddy. I was probably 10 or 12 years old when all that was being taken place. I remember watching those games, the Michigan Panthers with Anthony Carter, and New Orleans had a team, I think the New Orleans Breakers or somebody like that. So, yeah, I enjoyed it. I don't know what teams. I would love to see them have all the old teams. And shoot, buddy, have you called the head ball coach to see if he's going to coach the Bandits?
Well, as a matter of fact, I'm going to call it today or tomorrow and see. The first thing that came to my mind was him. Because he always said, if I could do one of those spring leagues where I didn't, and I had to recruit, and I'm sure it's crossed his mind. Is Bobby Stoops still under contract to the XFL? He and Bobby would make a good team on some, with whatever. I personally would love to see him back in it again. I think it'd be great for him. And, he just wants to coach. He's 75 now. He's got some games left. And what you find out in life is that you're not done when you think you're done. There's still some ball in there. Like I tell Coach, when you get older, writers got to write, singers got to sing, and coaches got to coach. coach as long as you can. He did a really good job down in Orlando with that team. And, and he enjoyed it. He loved it. And the fact that he wasn't really the champion didn't stop him because the gamblers declared them as the champion, Apollos as the league champion. So he took that and moved on. And that's what he does. So I'd love to see him back in coaching. And I can't wait to see what he has to say. My guess is he'll probably say, well, I don't think so. But and I know, if they said, we're bringing back the Tampa Bay Bandits, if you have Bobby Stoops come down here and coach his team, you can hire whoever you want to, and you can whatever, to repeat what you did in Orlando. He'd have to be thinking about that real strong.
Yeah, well, the Houston Gamblers, I think James Bates' dad was the head coach of that squad, so that'd be interesting. Refresh your vehicle and your brand with the vehicle wrap from Wrap Spot. June is your lucky month at Wrap Spot. Mention promo code Shane and receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. Speaking with Buddy Martin here for a few more minutes on the Titan Tomorrow Hotline. Got a couple of Facebook Lives.
You're right about the face, boy. You're right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I have to jump in here. I can't see you. I think the thing is that Jim Kelly came out of that league.
Yes, he did.
Mouse Davis was the offensive coordinator, and ultimately Mouse wound up at the Denver Gold. And I learned to run and shoot from Mouse Davis, talking to him, watching him. And later on, when I went to CBS for a couple of years with Bradshaw, I remember sitting at a table in a big CBS meeting, and all the talent there. And James Brown came by my table. He's a Harvard graduate, by the way. You might know him from CBS. He sat down at the table and says, I understand you're the one that can explain the run and shoot to me. I thought, man, he is reaching deep in the barrel to ask me to teach him to run and shoot. But that was the mid-'80s, and that was innovative. And really that morphed into some of the offenses that we know today, the West Coast, whatever. Mouse Davis ran it differently. But he was the father of the run and shoot.
Yeah, it was fun to watch. We got a couple of Facebook Lives brought to you by Melton Law. Rick says, you don't think the new stadium is not top 10. I think there's a big text feed going through here. And what, Rick, I think what people are talking about is not the stadium. The stadium is state of the art. It's probably definitely one of the top 10 in America. It's the atmosphere. There's no comparison to the atmosphere at some of these other ballparks in the SEC. Let's see. Sandy says, is Spurrier still coaching an XFL team? He never coached an XFL team. He was the head coach of an American Football Alliance team, and that
and the USFL, right?
And Cliff asked, didn't Herschel Walker play in the USFL? Yes, Herschel played for the New Jersey Generals.
New Jersey Generals.
Donald Trump's team. Doug Flutie was the quarterback. So it will be interesting to see what they do with that league. There's no question about that, buddy. I saw that the other day, and I was thinking. I thought they'd already come back, but that was the XFL that tried it. The USFL. Do we even know who's in charge of the USFL now?
No, it's just the basic information we got here, and I read Barrett's Elite story this morning, and it talks about how football being king. He says he feels like because of the fantasy leagues now, because of the draft, because all the gambling going on, USFL would provide yet another source there. So the USFL, he mentions Herschel Walker. We mentioned several names of people, coaches, players, whatever. And so how the XFL, Vince McMahon went belly up, when they put millions on it. So it may not be doable. I don't know. But apparently the XFL applied for Chapter 11, which led to the Rockies. Danny Garcia and their partners purchasing the company for $15 million last August, even though each league failed financially for different reasons. Less is the same. The market for a startup alternative football league is opportunistic but unforgiving. So they got a long way to go. It's just an idea. Apparently, they have the rights to it, but they're talking like Fox is behind it, and that's it. You have to have, like Coach Spurrier always said about the Apollos. They didn't really have any kind of network. And if they want to do it. If they want, and the guy at Fox was making noise about supporting it, then it's got a shot. That's it. It's about TV.
Yep. If you got joint pain in your knees, shoulders, hip, or back that won't go away, you need to check out QC Kinetics for long-lasting relief. Not surgery, drugs, or downtime. Schedule your free consultation at QC Kinetics. 352-400-4550. Call them today. That's QC Kinetics. 352-400-4550. A few more minutes with Buddy Martin here from the Buddy Martin Show. Got a Facebook Live brought to you by Meldon Law. Joseph says, I went to game 2 of the Vandy series, and there was still COVID protocols in place, but the atmosphere was very good for that game. Fans were chanting and lots of excitement. I will say this. I know there was COVID protocols, but Joseph, what I would like for you to do, I'll give you your homework assignment this weekend. When the Super Regionals start, I'd like for you to make sure you watch, although Ole Miss is on the road. Mississippi State is at home. I believe Tennessee is going to be at home. Arkansas will be at home. Watch those games, and you tell me if anything like that happens or if the atmosphere is anything like that at the New Florida ballpark.
Well, yeah, you're right, Shane. You're right. I mean, I don't disagree with you, but let's face it. It used to be that way in basketball before Billy Donovan.
Well, it's still. I'm going to agree to disagree because there was a lot of excitement when Billy was coaching here. But honestly, I still think most people show up only when Kentucky comes into town. And,
well, that's probably true. And you know why? Part of the problem is a lot of those two-season ticket holders are from Tampa or Orlando and Jacksonville. They don't come during the week, the games. They give their tickets away. And you're right. But now, as it turned out, basketball they won a championship, was successful. They're struggling with Mike White right now. It'll never be a basketball school. It'll never be a baseball school, but they're pretty good in everything. And I think that's what the Florida experience is you're pretty good in everything.
Oh, and, no, I agree.
Past that the baseball be like Mississippi State and so this feels like saying, well, Kentucky basketball ought to have the same here. It'll never happen here. It'll always be what it is. But
so do you think
better?
Do you think that I mean, we needed a new facility? There is no question at all because our baseball.
No doubt about it. You got to get it while the money's there.
But do you think maybe they built it too big?
Well, you made this point last night on my show, and I can't disagree with you. Let's be honest. It wasn't about a commitment to baseball, particularly. The reason they did it. They needed to replace the football facility.
Right.
And they had to take the stadium where the baseball was played. There's nothing really wrong with that stadium. And by the way, it could have refurbished it and rebuilt the stands and done some of the same things and had it burned, but they didn't want to. They want to make room for football. Why? Because it's a football school. But they made the most of it. I've heard you do figures about the amount of money spent. I hear 81, I hear 60. I'm not sure they're bringing the land to play or not. But anyway, they got the facility. They got the coach. Now, here's the other thing. You're starting to hear this more and more and more. Is Sully going to leave? Is Sully going to leave? Is Sully going to leave? We've been talking on back channels about this for about 10 days and doing a lot of research. You know, people think they got the answer. They know this, they know that. Is he going to LSU? Is he just going to quit? And what's the deal? And that's why I brought up the thing about the 19-1 loss. It was one more nail in the coffin right now for Sully, who's not having a good month, you know, and it really has discouraged. I don't know his mental state or what it is, but I hear, and I've heard this from more than one source, the amount of money being LSU is willing to offer is enormous. One figure that I've heard secondhand from a so-called inside source is $3 million a year. $3 million a year. Okay. Now I don't know if, and the other thing I heard is, well, his kids are in Gainesville and he won't leave. Well, apparently, again, I reported secondhand, he has custody of his kids, so that's not an issue. So the question is he had enough at Florida? And one of the things that Billy Donovan would tell you privately, wouldn't tell you, is he was discouraged about the fact that people didn't show up for some of those basketball games. And you know, the Sully's a bit discouraged, but not only just himself and his team, but by the lack of attendance. So maybe what you're saying comes into play. Now, do I have a scoop that Sully's going to LSU? No, I do not. I just don't know what to expect. And the reason I brought up the abjection of losing that game is just one more thing for Sully to deal with. Can he recoup and regain his because he got a great reputation. He's a great baseball coach by all standards. I don't say that from my own mouth. I say it from other people talking about it. So I don't know. That's why it's coming interesting.
Yeah, we got a Facebook Live brought to you by Metal Law. Andre says, if pro baseball stadiums aren't packed, why would we expect college to be packed? College baseballs are packed, except for ours. I mean, between the regionals, they average between 7,000 to 14,000 people, depending on capacity at their stadiums. Ours holds about 10, I believe, and it says we had 3,000. I don't buy it. It did not look like that. So the other stadiums are packed, and the atmosphere is ridiculous.
Well, let's be honest, though. Those are not marquee games. I mean, there's obviously Miami draws a bit, but if you talk, we didn't.
But
have
buddy, the other regionals didn't have marquee games either. They were there to support their team. Is my point.
That's true. That's true. But let's be honest, you're right. They don't have it. They don't have.
They don't. The fans do not support Florida baseball. Is my point. I love Florida baseball, but I don't know what you're going to do about it. And I mean, you can't just click your fingers and have a great atmosphere because a lot of these schools have different traditions there. But speaking of Sully, it says right here, John says, if Sully turned down Texas, I feel confident he will turn down LSU. Here are my thoughts on Sully. There's multiple things here. One, you're right, buddy. His kids are here. They're very young. I know his boys at the ballpark all the time. He's been divorced for a while. If he were to move to Baton Rouge, how's that going to work? Do you really want to work for the LSU athletic department? It's a mess. Ours is not a mess. Theirs is a mess. The only positive I would see, if I was in that position, the only positive between LSU and Florida is the atmosphere and the support, fan support, I should say, because that place is packed every weekend. But your recruiting base, your kids are here, and you got a great administration and athletic department to work for. So I don't think he's going to go anywhere. I mean, I haven't heard any rumors or anything in the last couple of weeks, but who knows? Who knows?
Well, that's exactly what I was talking about when I said you reach that point of abject humiliation. So you throw your hands up and say, why am I fighting this? I'm not suggesting he's going to do that. Because if I was in Vegas right now, somebody that give me $1,000 and bet on Sully one way or the other, I'd bet it toward him staying. But I don't have any information. It's just a hunch. And when he's all over and the pain subsides, he looks at what he's got. He's got a great ballpark. He's got a good fan base. They can help him out with a little more marketing, maybe perhaps, and do a little better job of cultivating. Sometimes when you're not living in Gainesville, it's hard to know when the games are on and where to find them.
True.
Simple things like that.
But buddy, I'm going to be devil's advocate here. Not everybody that goes to a game in Fayetteville, Arkansas, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Oxford, Mississippi, Knoxville, Tennessee, or Starkville, Mississippi, they don't all live in the town. They come and watch their program.
I hear you.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm a big proponent, and like I told you, in my opinion, the two best supportive fan support sports programs at Florida are football and softball, because those places are packed for the most part every game they play.
Oh, softball's a small venue, but anyway, the point is, you're right.
But they average about 2,000 to 3,000 people there. They get more people than baseball.
Well, right now, let's see what happens.
They've been doing it for 16 years, buddy.
Okay, I'm going to say this, and you should know the answer to this, and you should know all people. And I don't mean any insult to people in Pascagoula, Mississippi, or Knoxville, Tennessee, or Starkville. This is Florida. There's a lot to do here, okay? And, you say, well, do I want to go sit in the hot sun? Is was the case before.
It's hot in Mississippi. It's hot as hell in Mississippi. And I've heard that. I've heard that excuse.
What else?
Okay, but what is there to do in Gainesville? Everybody acts like Gainesville is Chicago. It's St. Northwestern outside of Chicago.
You can go lake. You can do a lot of things.
There's plenty of lakes in Mississippi. Trust me.
Okay, well then you tell me what it is, because that's all I got.
I don't know, because it's never the only time I've ever seen the stadium packed for baseball since I was a student here was either when FSU was in town and Miami was in town. And that was it. Now, every now and then, maybe a regional would be packed, but it wasn't packed this year. So anyway, I'm just saying I'm very disappointed. We don't have a baseball atmosphere like we should. That's my point. Buddy, I appreciate you taking time to join the program today, my man.
All right, Shane. And by the way, this is not Lexington, Kentucky either, and the basketball teams will not be sold out.
Well, there ain't nothing to do in Lexington either, unless you just want to go watch horse race.
There is.
Hey, buddy, let everybody know who's on your show tonight.
Well, it's our double coverage. Cassidy Hill with Jackie Frangilli. They're talking about all recruiting and everything else. Big weekend recruiting, and plus we'll throw in a little bit of Jags and a little bit of Bucks. You never know what may happen tonight on the program. I'll be on for a moment, and then we'll have Jackie and Cassidy on the Buddy Martin show tonight. All right, I'll let you go. Thanks
All
very
right,
much.
buddy. Good stuff, my man. Appreciate it. Take care.
All right. Thank you.
That's Buddy Martin. Join us on the Titan Tomorrow Hotline. I'll take our first time out of the program. Come back. We'll be joined by College Sports Today's Terry Norvelle. We're going to talk college baseball with a super regional set, maybe a little college football as well. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. G-Tech Sport, keep your athletes in the game with G-Tech Sport. QC Kinetics, non-surgical regeneration, live pain-free. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Doreen Wiebe Realtor Caldwell Banker, MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Rap Spot, Okido America, Gators Dockside, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Silverback Concrete Company. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Looking for all type of restaurant people, managers, servers, bartenders, hosts, cooks, dishwashers, bussers. If you think you're good in the restaurant business, then give us a call.
Spurrier's Gridiron Grill job fair is open now. All you have to do is go to spurriersdraft.com and fill out an application.
We're looking for the good team members, and we're looking for people with a wonderful attitude that can make Spurrier's Gridiron Grill the best we can possibly be. To apply, go to spurriersdraft.com.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Celebration Points where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Regal Cinemas, Dave & Buster's, Nike, Les Macarons French Pastries, Kilwins, and coming summer of 2021, the HBC's new restaurant, Spurs Gridiron Grill, and Visors Tailgate and Rooftop Bar. We'll see you at Celebration Point where the Gators go to celebrate. We're now going to go to the Titan Tomorrow Hotline. We'll be joined by College Sports Today host, Mr. Terry Norvelle. Good morning, Terry. How are you?
Shane, how you doing, man? I'm going to have Evan help me here. I'm hearing some other audio as well, Evan, if you can help me. It sounds like I got ESPN in my ear. Is that on my end?
Yes, that's on your end. But while you figure that out, I'm going to read a Facebook Live brought to you by Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Brandon says, and Brandon, I've been preaching this for the last 5 or 6 years, my man. Shane, I know this is not PC, but I have seen this take place over the years, and I believe it's the issue at UF. I am a Gator booster and a Gator grad, but when UF continues to try and be the Harvard of the South and turn down kids who have grown up being a Gator, going to games and supporting the program, but doesn't have a top-notch GPA, they're going to other places. Those people fill the stands. Bull Gators and former players' families can't get into UF. Amen. I've talked many times the last 6-7 years about that, and it ticks me off, but send an email to the admissions and put my name on there as well. And then Joseph says he agrees with Buddy. By the time UF opened up the stadium, it was prime vacation season. That's a lame ass excuse, in my opinion. There are people in Mississippi and Fayetteville and Knoxville taking vacations just as well. But anyway, all right, Terry, let's get to you. Super regionals. First of all, let's talk. You and I like to watch college softball. Man, did Patrick Murphy make a mistake the other night not starting Montana Fouts?
My goodness, you had the hottest arm in the country. I mean, I was having fun. She threw a perfect game, Shane, and I was having fun the next morning on the Facebook saying, who's had a better postseason, Devonta Smith or Montana Fouts? How do you not ride that arm? And, softball, you don't have to worry about pitch count necessarily. Underhand, that's a natural movement. Those girls can throw 300 pitches in 2 days. Big mistake. And don't you know he knows it, Patrick Murphy. He's a big-time coach, but he messed that thing up, I think.
Yep, and now FSU will face Oklahoma for the national championship. I don't think FSU has a chance, but That's why you play the game. Oklahoma is as dominant as I've ever
Real
seen.
good team.
Let's talk college baseball. You're a former baseball player at JU. Man, I love baseball time and when they do the regionals and super regionals. And I just had a long discussion, and Buddy disagreed with me. People try to tell me that, Gainesville, there's more to do here. Last time I checked, this ain't a metropolitan city.
No.
I mean, yeah, we got beaches both ways. We got lakes, but hell, the other schools do as well. Why don't we have an atmosphere in Florida baseball?
And Shane, it's been that way for years. It's been that way for years, and I get it. New Park, Old Park, I get all that. I'm in your camp. Tennessee has basically no baseball tradition. They just got good, right? Their atmosphere is unbelievable. They have an unbelievable – that just came out of nowhere. That's Knoxville. That's not New York, as you said. Starkville, we know. That crowd last night at Fayetteville, that's the best college baseball crowd in the history of college baseball. Now, it'll get topped Friday night, and it'll get topped Saturday. Unbelievable. Shane, my first question I've always had with Florida, this is a massive school, the state school in Florida. They rarely get a group of students. Where are the students at? First of all, they need to. I
can help answer that question because I have a daughter who graduated from Mississippi State University that attended a lot of baseball games. She was friends with Jake Mangum. She grew up with Jake in Chicago but knew a lot of the baseball players. I've had friends that, if you've ever been to Dudy Noble, in my opinion, it's the best atmosphere in all of college baseball. Well, at Ole Miss and in Oxford and Starkville, students are allowed to bring in their own coolers. Okay. That helps with the atmosphere.
Sure.
If you see when Ole Miss hits a home run, everybody has a beer in their hand and they do beer showers. It's just, that's part of it.
Yeah.
Here, that doesn't happen. I know they're selling beer now, but I want to say it's like $8 a beer.
Yeah.
Students aren't going to pay for that. I don't know what it costs to get in the games, but that's why some of these schools have great tradition and tremendous crowds week in and week out.
But it's terrible. I mean, you can make a bunch of excuses, and I get it. Friday at noon was the first game in Gainesville. You know what? People can get to the ballpark. We live in a society. Hey, we're not in the 1940s and 50s where everybody works Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. Okay, and you can't get anywhere at noon on a Friday. No, you can get people. Florida's got to really, really do, I think, a deep dive and see what they can do to get a better baseball atmosphere. That's too big a school. It's too good of a tradition in baseball. And does that win games for you? I don't know. It doesn't hurt. It damn sure doesn't hurt. That crowd last night at both Oxford and Fayetteville, unbelievable. Just unbelievable crowds. Florida, by the way, now you can blame this on the team really having a disastrous 2 games. I know Florida lost a bunch of money hosting that regional. You gotta put a bid in. You're putting a bid in, and they probably lost a lot of money. There was nobody at those last 3 or 4 games.
No, we got a couple of Facebook Lives. Asa says it's because Tennessee is just now winning, which is some truth to that. Okay. But he says Arkansas is also new to winning. Arkansas has had great tradition in baseball. Yeah. They almost won they should have won the national title like 3 years ago. He says he does like the cooler and a cold one idea. Joseph says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Metal Law, Florida students are at study hall. Knoxville, the students are doing keg stands before the game. That's probably true. But again, it goes back to the student.
Shane, hold on. Let me cut you off there,
that's going to the games. Huh?
I'm not saying Florida's student 25,000 need to show up. You need to have that. It's got to be the cool thing to do. You got to have 2,000 on maybe not a midweek game, but you got to have that core of 2,000 on your SEC weekend games. Absolutely. They got to have their area in or out, in the grandstand, outside in the seating area, wherever. They got to have, and you got to start there, man. That's got to be your first 2,000 fans. You know they're going to be there when the big boys roll in, and they're not, and they haven't ever been.
Nope. At Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. Speaking with Terry Norvelle here on the Titan Moore Hotline. Terry, let me ask you this. You're a baseball guy, played college baseball and all that. I've always wondered, and I grew up loving baseball, played it until I came to college. Why in baseball in softball as well, why do they play series? I mean, think about it. It's the only sport you play series in. And if you look at the regional games where the games had to go into Monday yesterday, they're like slow pitch softball scores, 14-10.
Yeah.
Why do you think baseball just doesn't say, hey, We're going to roll in there. We're going to play one game, win or lose, and go home.
Yeah, and they've never done that in game of baseball, all the way from major leagues. They don't do that in major leagues either. You have a World Series. That's where it comes from. Baseball's quirky. It's a very quirky sport. You could easily have one day one guy has his stuff on the mound and he or she could go 6 or 7 innings or a complete game, and you just don't feel like that was the entirety of the two teams knocking heads. It was one dominant situation, almost like golf. Why don't they just say, hey, today is the Masters. One round, whoever scores the best goes at it. Well, they don't have it. The entirety of 4 days and maybe different weather and showing a little more of your bag, right? Instead of one day, the putter's red hot. It's quirkiness. Now, you make a good point, though. I hate when it gets to Shane Matthews is called from shortstop to pitch an inning because they've played 4 games. They're on their 4th game in their 2nd day in a row. It's tough. What they've done, though, Shane, to help it a little bit, there used to be a time where if you got that loser's bracket, it would bracket out where you had to win 2 games, a doubleheader today and a doubleheader tomorrow. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. They've actually made it where you get punished, and you should if you lose early. You'll have to win a doubleheader. Then they'll stretch it to another day, another full day. But, yeah, it's a quirky game, and I think that's the answer to it.
Yeah, and John says on Facebook Live, baseball does the 1-game deal in high school. That's here in the state. In Mississippi, we made it to the South State Championship, 1 series away from playing for the state title my senior year, and it was the best 2 out of 3 during that. So I think it depends on whatever state you live in. Terry, okay, so let's just talk. I mean, obviously, it was a horrible way for the Gators to end. I talked to Buddy, get his thoughts. Do you think Sully leaves and goes to LSU?
I don't. I think the talk is heated up. I don't. I do think. Keep in mind, Kevin Sullivan is 52 years old. He's a young 52. He's in good shape. Florida is not going to be his last stop. He's not going to coach. He's been there 14 years. I don't see Sully going another 15 and wrapping it up as a 30-year career. I see Sully having another job somewhere. It may be pro ball. It very well may be pro ball. Kevin Sullivan, the pro guys have talked to him, I'm sure, and he could command. If the Mets or somebody wanted to come hire him, he could say, with his panache, he could say, well, I'm not starting in rookie ball. You start me in AAA, give me a year, and I want to go manage in the big leagues. I don't think he ends his career at Florida, but I don't think he goes right now. Just a hunch.
And we got a text here on the Titan Moore text line from Daryl. He says, Shane, what would you do to improve the baseball atmosphere from a marketing standpoint? Well, first of all, I don't even know what it costs to go, but I would definitely almost let students in free. Back when I was in school, you just showed your well, I never carried it around, but they'd let you in with your student ID for free. I would allow the students to bring their own beverages of choice, and I would make them sit in the outfield on the berms. That's what I would do. Because I think it could get rowdy that way.
I like what you said. That's a beautiful area now. I haven't been to the new ballpark. That's a beautiful area out there, and you can see through the outfield wall. I love where you're going. I would set up some type of student section in the outfield. They can certainly go in the grandstand if they want, but I would set up a little special student section. Got to put a little bit of a cover or something on it. But yeah, I would go in the outfield and let that be known. And damn it, I want 2,000 on a SEC weekend rolling in there and making it hard, making it tough. Florida has never had that good student section.
No, not at all. All right, Terry. So super regionals are all in effect. LSU, I think, is maybe the surprise. They're moving on. They're going to be playing Tennessee, I believe.
Yes.
Go ahead and who do you think the 8 teams that are going to make it to Omaha?
Well, obviously, I still will stand by the 2 best teams I've seen this year are Arkansas and Vanderbilt. I think Vanderbilt's got a tough draw. East Carolina is a good program. Arkansas, Vanderbilt. Obviously they're not in the regional. Ole Miss came out of what I thought was a tough regional. Southern Miss is really good. FSU was playing good ball. I think it'll be a lot of SEC teams. I like Mississippi State at home. Notre Dame's pretty good. What you mentioned about LSU, people may not know it. They won last night. They moved on. They won. So they're going to Knoxville. Tennessee doesn't have a huge stadium, right? They're probably a year or two away from building a baseball stadium, probably. So they're only going to get about 4,000, I think, is a capacity crowd. Don't you think for a minute a bunch of LSU fans are going to find their way in that stadium? That is going to be a hellacious. I would bring some temporary stadium seating if I could in Knoxville, because LSU fans are going to infiltrate that place. Tennessee's got a great home crowd. That's going to be a hell of an atmosphere.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting about that is don't be surprised if Sully doesn't go to LSU if the Tennessee coach is not their next coach.
Yeah, he's tough. He's good. He's young. He's aggressive. Vitello.
Did you see him after they won the other night? He was all up in the crowd.
Oh, he's great. He is great. And that's kind of that college baseball coach right now. That young, fiery, can still get out there and throw BP and get in the box and have fun with his team. I got to believe, though, Tennessee knows that. Tennessee's going to offer him a ton of money to stick around, though. But, yeah, some names, Shane, and I threw this on my Facebook the other day, and Sully's gone nowhere right now. I get that. But LSU, is looking for a coach when their season's over. Florida may be looking for a coach. Some guys I would look at, first and foremost, if I'm LSU, I might go right back to Notre Dame. Link Jarrett, the old FSU shortstop, has done great things at Greensboro. He's done great things at Notre Dame. I may go talk to him. I love Eric Babbage from Michigan. He's part of that Sullivan, Corbin, Jack Leggett tree. He's buddies with Sullivan and Corbin at Vandy. He took Michigan to the title. The guy at East Carolina, Cliff Godwin, big time coach. East Carolina is the number one program that has made the most appearances in a regional and super regional to not ever make it to Omaha. They've got a good program at East Carolina. There's some names I'd bump around, but Vitello at Tennessee, he is a red hot guy right now. Tennessee's going to have to open up the bank on this guy, I think, this offseason.
Yeah, so I don't have the brackets in front of me. So potentially, how many could it be? 5 SEC teams make it?
There are 6 left right now, but obviously you've got LSU and Tennessee playing each other.
Okay.
So yeah, that would be the only one, that one of them has to go home. Yeah, so there's 6 alive. How about that? 6 of the 16 teams still playing are from the SEC. 4 of them from the West. How good is that? I mean, 4 of them are from the West, right? LSU got in there. Arkansas, the 2 Mississippis, and LSU are in there.
Wouldn't that be something if LSU makes it to Omaha? To be very similar to, was it the year that Mike Martin was retiring?
Absolutely.
And somehow FSU made it to Omaha?
LSU is following that exact same script. The same thing happened. FSU barely got in. They barely got in. Mike Martin had his announcement. Everybody knew he was retiring. They barely got in the regionals. And Shane, they got hotter than a firecracker. They hit the ball everywhere, made it to Omaha, and then the bats went quiet. But this reminds me of that. This reminds me a ton. LSU was no guarantee to get in. They got bumped in the first game in Hoover by Georgia. And then the other great story is going to get buried because of LSU. That's going to be the big story, is South Florida. South Florida was 24-26 at the end of the regular season. They had to win their tournament to get in. And, they were under 500, no chance of getting in unless they won their tournament, and they went and won their damn tournament, and then they went in Gainesville. Shane, here's the team I think that's really hurting. If you're Gino DiMare and the Miami Hurricane baseball team, imagine the opportunity that they pissed away. If I went to you, Shane, and you're Gino DiMare, I said, Coach DiMare, here's the deal. You're getting sent to Gainesville. You're one of 4 teams in Gainesville, okay? But I'm going to guarantee you won't play Florida at all. He would have taken that odds and went to Las Vegas. They went to Gainesville, never touched Florida, and still didn't get out of there. Ooh, that hurts. That hurts.
We didn't play Miami either.
I know. Woo.
Yeah, that's crazy. So, all right, Terry, how many days till college football? I know you know right now.
81.
81.
81, because yesterday it was 82.
All right. Well, so when you look at the early games in college football, and I know we're still some time away, and we'll have you on the show before that.
Sure.
What game are you the most excited about to kick off the season?
Well, obviously the Georgia Clemson's the big one. What I call the first week. That's the huge one. What does Alabama look like? They should handle Miami, but what does Alabama look like in their early season game? But Clemson and Georgia is the one. Not a lot of actual game experience by either quarterback. Uiagalelei has got his 4 games. JT had his games a couple years ago. He only had 4 at Georgia. And then, the pressure in that game, I think, is more on Clemson because they have a cake schedule. If Clemson was to lose that game, does Clemson have enough panache on their schedule to crawl back up? Georgia potentially has enough panache. It'll be tough if Georgia loses, but Georgia's got a schedule that they can go get some big pelts and still put on the wall. I don't know if Clemson does. But obviously those are the 2 big ones.
Yeah. I was on Buddy's show last night, and we didn't have a disagreement, but we were talking about Alabama rolled into Gainesville. And I said, Buddy, it's a huge game. I said, but if you can tell me right now, would you take a win over Georgia or a win over Alabama? And he's like, Alabama. I was like, absolutely not. I'd rather beat Georgia because then you're going to go to Atlanta for the most part. Yeah. You beat Alabama, there's still no guarantee.
Yeah.
Terry, what would you prefer? I mean, obviously we'd love to beat them both. But
absolutely.
Who would you take the win over?
Well, if you just play the odds, I would rather take Georgia because then I think I could probably get another shot at Alabama. If I lose to Georgia, that's the only crack I'm getting at Georgia. And I would take the Georgia win if you could guarantee me the one right now. I think I could still get where I want to go with a Georgia win easier than an Alabama win and a Georgia loss, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, because if you're probably going to still control your own destiny, even with a loss to Alabama, because if you take care of the other business. But anyway, good stuff as always, Terry. Let everybody know how they can check out your show.
Yeah, anytime. It's on Facebook and YouTube. Just go to Facebook and follow College Sports Today on Facebook. You'll get all the previews. And make sure you subscribe on our YouTube channel of the same name, College Sports Today. We're on every Monday, every Friday, year-round, 11 a.m. Coach Spurrier joins us. Shane, you're on there as well. Having a lot of fun. And soon we think weeks away, we'll be doing the show every day, Monday and Friday, from Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. We're waiting on the restaurant to open. It's really close. Anybody looking for a job in the service industry, restaurant industry, get to that website, spurriersgridirongrill.com. You can apply right there, and the team's being put together. It's just about wrapped up. Hurry up and become an employee, and we'll have a big time out there.
Yep. All right, Terry. Appreciate you taking the time to join us, my man. We'll talk to you soon. That's Terry Norvelle. Join us on the Titan Tomorrow Hotline. Going to take our final time out of this Tuesday edition. Come back and wrap it up.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. G-Tech Sport, keep your athletes in the game with G-Tech Sport. QC Kinetics, non-surgical regeneration, live pain-free. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, Cornerstone Financial, McDonald's of Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Chick-fil-A on Archer Road, Avera and Smith, Dowling Signs, Chomp Harder Apparel, Ruse Ogra Agent, State Farm Insurance, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the Advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Center State Bank is now South State Bank, but we still put business first. We understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. South State still has 4 convenient Alachua County locations. South State Bank, banking forward, member FDIC. Want to thank Buddy Martin and Terry Norvelle for joining us on the Titan MR hotlines. Also, tomorrow we'll be joined by JC. We'll be doing our Peachland Dentistry, JC and the QB golf picks. We're planning to have Blake Alderman on, talk a little Gator recruiting. I know a lot of people are excited about that. I know that's what people like to talk about these days. But make sure you follow us and like us and all that good stuff. I hope you enjoyed the show today. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. Today's show's a wrap, brought to you by Wrap Spot. Be safe, folks. See you tomorrow.